Now let's talk about variety when it comes to skills. As a non-native speaker who wants to achieve native-like fluency, I understand that I can't be focusing on the same thing if I want to achieve something very different. Most non-native speakers, even when they're already advanced, they keep doing the same thing, and they think that in order to improve their language skills, they need to go back to doing the same thing. Language books, grammar books, classes, repetitions, drills, to achieve new heights. But instead, you want to be doing something very different. Or you want to be doing probably similar things, or even the same things, but differently. So let's talk about this. You need to develop a different set of skills. To achieve native-like fluency, we want to teach ourselves to write, to listen, to read, and to speak better, because fluency is not just the speaking fluency. It's the writing fluency, the reading fluency, the listening fluency, and the speaking fluency. And the fifth skill is thinking. You want to teach yourself to think in a foreign language, because we're mostly interested in developing your cognitive abilities in the foreign language. Many language learners do not achieve that level of freedom relative to expressing themselves and their personality because they do not pay attention to developing their cognitive abilities in a foreign language, which is thinking skills. They're focused on learning the language as a discipline. Basically, they approach language as if it's a hard skill, something that they're supposed to learn, examine from all possible angles, and then put it on a shelf, mark it as done, and treasure it as a trophy. If you're really interested in developing your speaking skills, and you need to focus on your thinking skills, and if you want to focus on your thinking skills, you will inevitably start writing. All these processes are connected, and of course, if you want to enjoy more meaningful conversations in a foreign language, you want to start listening. You want to start the practice of listening to other people so that you can understand them. And if you want to use the vocabulary that other people will understand, you want to pay attention to your reading skills. What are you actually reading? Because that's the source of your vocabulary. If you don't read anything, you're also limiting yourself. Pay attention that you work on all these skills when you practice. If you only write and you only read and you only watch a movie here and there, maybe once a week, or if you only watch Netflix without really paying attention to the vocabulary, or if you only have English TV in the background and you don't really do any focused work, any deliberate work, you're not really doing anything new, and you're not really doing any deliberate, conscious work to continuously improve your language skills. Thinking too, many people say, I see dreams in English, I think in English, but when you consciously think about this process, I think I'm thinking in English right now, it's not that, it's not what I mean. It needs to happen automatically. And you only analyze it later. You can't tell yourself, okay, now start thinking in English and kickstart that process. No, you can only analyze it after you're done speaking. This is how it works. So I was saying that many language learners say that they do all these things and they work on all these skills. However, I rarely see any conscious, deliberate effort. If they watch Netflix, they think it counts as working on their listening skills. If they watch an English movie, they think it counts as working on their vocabulary because they're watching this movie with subtitles. If they read a book in English, every time they commute, they think it counts as reading practice. If they speak to colleagues at work every day, they think it counts as speaking practice. If you mean that you continue doing what you're doing to maintain the level that you have, yes, all these things count. If your ambition is a new level, you want to start a conscious, deliberate practice to achieve new things, because we only practice the things that need to be improved. The examples I've just given will not help you improve anything, because you do what you already know how to do. You don't do any deliberate self-correction. You don't do any deliberate self-awareness work. You don't do any deliberate practice, and you don't do any deliberate work on improving anything. You're just repeating what you already know. How can you change those processes? If you read something in English, I'm not saying you should stop reading books in English, but if you read a book in English, start reading some pages out loud. That will be a dramatic difference. And make it sound like it matters. Read it out loud so that as if it matters, as if someone is really listening, or have somebody listen to you. If you don't have anyone who would listen to you, read it to your pet. If you want to take it one step further, record yourself as you read out loud and listen back to your own recording and give yourself feedback. Don't do this the same day. Record yourself, leave it aside, and listen to your own recording maybe a few days later or even a week later. You'll be more able to understand how it sounds and what you feel when you listen to that. And here we want to operate from this question and from the state of asking this question, like, how do I feel? Not what is correct, but how does it make me feel? Because this is how you're making other people feel when you talk to them. And that's way more important in communication than is it grammatically correct. How you can vary your writing practice. If you already write something in English, let's say you write business emails every day, that's the reality of so many people, start journaling. Start writing about things that matter to you personally. Take one question and try to find the answer to this question that is bugging you or that is bothering you in writing. If you write a lot, meaning you type a lot of business emails, grab a pen and write something in longhand. This way you can introduce variety in your practice. How can you vary your speaking practice? If you speak to your colleagues at work every day and you don't really feel like you're improving anything because you keep repeating the same sentences and you talk about the same things, you discuss the same projects that everybody's aware of, and everybody is in the context and everybody uses the same vocabulary and everybody knows each other, find a new person to talk to. Talk to strangers in the streets. Try to find the answer to the question that is bugging you again by talking about it out loud to yourself and record yourself. Talk to your colleagues about something personal. Share your weekend story. Volunteer to give a presentation. Do something different, new. This will be interesting. Or join a speaking club. Go to an event where people share stories, where people get to know each other. See how well you can communicate with people who don't know you yet and who you don't know yet. That will introduce some variety. How can you introduce variety in your listening practice? If you only listen to podcasts and you watch videos that are work-related, listen to something that has personal value to you. Watch something that is related to your hobby, something that you don't usually have the time to talk about or even to think about. Your hobby or some important questions such as raising children, choosing your values, living into your values, maybe starting a garden or showing empathy, whatever it is. When it comes to listening, speaking, writing, and reading, to introduce variety means you can read about something completely different and still understand it. You can listen to something completely different, so contrast, remember the word contrast, and still make sense of it. You can suddenly talk about something completely different, such as how you feel. In order to talk about how you feel, let's say in order to practice empathy, you need to recognize what other people might be feeling, and you need to learn to communicate what it is that you have recognized. In order to do so, you need to be fluent in the language of feeling. I think I was listening to Brené Brown, who said that fluency in the language of feeling and emotion means you are able to name at least 30 different emotions. At least 30. You can ask yourself this question right now, how many emotions can I actually think of? And then can you tell the difference between anger and despair? between guilt and shame, between disappointment and frustration and stuckness. This is variety too. Can you talk about these things? And if you can't, maybe you want to start a practice routine. That's what I'm doing right now. I recognized that if I want to talk about the way I feel, if I want to talk to other people about how they feel, and if I want to understand how other people feel and communicate that understanding, I need different vocabulary. Where do I get this vocabulary? I want to listen to this, to people who talk about this. I want to read about this. I want to talk about this more often. You want to change your practice routine, or maybe start a completely new practice routine that will help you get there. And when you write, so coming back to what it means, when you already write a lot in English, becoming fluent in writing and introducing variety means you can write about something completely different and still be able to write something that makes sense. Most people are like in the lane, in one and the same lane for years. They can only talk about their work. They can't talk about their children. They can't talk about their, they can't discuss their spirituality with anybody in English, not even in their first language. There are people who can go to the bar, no problem, make new friends, travel, but they can never talk about their work. They can never achieve the same level of competence that they have in their first language. That, let's say, professional coaches who coach people in their first language, their ambition is to coach English-speaking clients, but because they never practice that deliberately, they practice all the other things, but they never give this their deliberate, conscious attention, they never become truly competent here. They might be doing grammar drills, they might be working on their shape of their vowels and all the other things that are also important, but they don't work enough on their variety. And if you're a coach who's looking to coach English-speaking clients, becoming fluent in the language of feeling and emotion would be my number one priority. I think you want to look into that.